Welcome to No Quarter Podcast. I'm No Quarter Andrew. This is a podcast of hope where we have no quarter. That's right, the dogs of doom are howling more. What is happening? I'm adding another installation to this podcast because I want to keep it rolling and keep it buzzing and keep it flying. I don't want it to be a spruce goose and hit the ground crashing like a goddamn Howard Hughes plane. So I'm going to throw this one back up. I've been getting feedback from literally no one, but I got feedback from YouTube, and they're telling me I can't post these fucking songs. So no more songs. I had a couple up there, and like one of the people I picked a handful of people, and like my Beyonce song, they were like, no. They're just like, no, you can't play this. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see that podcast. Drunken Love is a badass song. I love that song. Watermelon. Oh god, that's such a Beyonce Queen Bee's the shit. But a couple other bad underground East Coast Pittsburgh rapper, and he said I could use it. YouTube apparently said his song says I could use it, and YouTube apparently said that the Chinese artist that I chose, they didn't have anything to say. Glock po po. That was fucking Chinese. That's my Chinese rapper. That's how he starts his song. Glock po po. It's Chinese. So I guess I should just either choose artists that don't have anything to do with the America and aren't affiliated with YouTube that hardcore, or not give you guys music. So doesn't sound like we're gonna get too much music in this podcast, even though I fucking love it. It's the shit. I make fucking playlists every month, and every month I fucking go through them and I listen to what I want to listen to that month. Like, it's how many songs do you listen to in a month, and I get stuck. So how many can you listen to? Like 100, 50, 25? That's how long my podcast my playlists. I make a playlist every month, and like here I'm looking at them now. My playlist for January was only 19 songs long. February was 29 songs long. 5 is May. May was 30. In June I played most of the songs, well, not most of them. I played a couple of the good ones from this podcast, including that Vinnie Paz song, that Beyonce song, that Melo, China Gangster song, and they got taken down. Oh, my one song was Nightmare by Artie Shaw. It was this badass fucking like instrumental trumpet song. They didn't have any shit to say about that, so it's pretty much the shit that makes money. So I cannot make money doing this, so that's the truth. So I'll try to keep it on the down low and do podcasts where I don't step on anyone's toes, essentially, is what I can't do. I'd like to support people. Like, I love to, if you're listening to this, you should listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, because it is way better than this. It's so much more interesting. And if you like this, then you should listen to the Trussell podcast, because it's way more inspirational. And if you like this, you should listen to the Joey Diaz podcast, because it's way more funny. But I like fish and bikes, and that's what I want to do, is talk about fish and bikes, and that's essentially what this podcast is going to be about. No quarter. I don't have any room for anything else. I fish in my bikes. And also philosophy. It's all about, because that's what I'm into, and that's how I like talking. I like fucking talking about philosophy, contemplating the nature of existence, building fucking isolation tanks, engineering your life. It's what I really like. I'm into. It's not, I don't like shooting down in this, what was the word for it? It's just like that passive cynicism where it's like you're doing it as a hobby, where you're just looking for shit to hate. You're just like, recreational bitterness is what I think Joe Rogan calls it. I'm not into that. We're like, oh, what's that? Did you hear about Caitlyn Jenner? That sucks. Caitlyn Jenner, fucking, rah, 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 rah. Talking, it's just all bullshit. So I want to talk about, beautiful things. I want to talk about positiveness. I'm not going to throw anything up that's not positive. And that's what I feel. I was just thinking about Twitter. I was like, people don't like Twitter is because it's so many just tiny, very, very small, not complete negative thoughts. So I'd like to kind of create much, much, much larger thoughts in long podcast forms, if YouTube allow me, and also make it positive. So it's going to be much bigger and positive compared to the tiny 140 character negative tweets that people throw out. So I think these positive long-form podcasts are rebelling or rebuffing or, putting up a front to all the tiny little negative comments on YouTubes and Twitters. And if you throw negative comments on this, at least I get your view. So that's how I'm going to look at it. It's half full, it's not half empty, so you can't really do anything. So that's why this is a podcast about feeling radiant. I want you to feel radiance in your life. Feel like you are glowing and that you are beautiful. That pregnant glow that people have because they're growing a life force in their body, that's because that's that life force that baby is like, holy shit, you're a life force. Well, I'm telling you, I'm your baby. You are a life force. You should feel radiant, because that's what those podcasts, that those Diaz, Trussell, Rogan, that's what they made me feel. They made me feel positive and powerful and capable of doing this. So that's what I want to do, is just kind of sort of follow in their footsteps, but I have my own direction, which is, told you once before, told you again, bikes and fish tanks, bikes and tanks, essentially. It's going to be tanks one day, because I love these big, dumb water vessels, and if I can get good at it, I could start making money off these water vessels. Doing isolation tanks. If I did these isolation tanks, man, I was just looking about it. It's a unique experience. It affects each person differently, and it allows you, I feel, to not only feel radiant, but engineer your life. It's possible. Joe Rogan talks about this all the time. I think it's possible to engineer your life. But it's hard to take a step back. You do get caught in these foot traps. Like, I'm pretty caught right now. I don't have any future prospects, but I didn't have hope for a while, so that's why I didn't have future prospects, because the hope was gone. Everybody was just talking about all this negativeness. That's all I saw on Twitter, on the internet, all around me is just negativeness. So it took me a while just to find a light. I was in this dark tunnel, and I was just like, well, this is dumb. I'm just gonna lay here. But I looked up. I started like searching around, and then I was like, it can't just be a dark tunnel. And I looked around, and I saw a light, and it was fucking philosophy, essentially. Alan Watts' philosophy, Ram Dass' philosophy, Western and Eastern philosophies in general. More specifically, Eastern philosophy, because it's so different. I love how different it is. So I want to get caught up in that, and those things that I'm into seem to be right up the alley. Buddhism, isolation tanks, psychedelics seems to all be right up the alley of where I want to take this journey. So not necessarily will go balls deep or change who I am into that, but go along that path, because that path seems to be something that's not hopeless, because I've been feeling so hopeless. Those things have given me hope, so I'm gonna follow that hope, and I want to use that hope. I just talked to a buddy the other day about hope and trying to have that drive, that human drive, to keep you going and shit like that. And he was talking about how that's an animal drive that we essentially have. That's that fight or flight. And we can give up. Like, if you see an animal being attacked by another animal, it kind of gives up halfway. So the idea that we can give up and we're not even being attacked, we give up in complacency. That's just my feeling about it. I feel like it's easy to just give up in this day and age, because you don't need to think anymore. You don't need to work hard anymore. There are homeless people that make plenty of money if you're smart and charming, essentially enough, personable enough, where they don't have to. And there's plenty of rich people that don't do anything either. Like my country, essentially, is the richest country in the world, which means we don't have people dying of hunger or no water, or bodies laying around, because we could pay to clean all that up and move it around, and we could pay to we'll put out a water fountain so we don't have people starving to death. So we can afford that. That's which is crazy. So I kind of want to not necessarily capitalize on this capitalism, but if you've ever seen like the Zeitgeist documentary, they talk about how we can provide for everyone's needs plus. And in my country and everyone around me, uses 7, or what's the American quote? I mean, Americans use like 3 times as much energy as everyone else in the world. So I'm trying to draw it back. Oh my God, people are like, you don't have a car? What do you do? And I'm like, dude, most people don't have cars. We use more energy driving that stupid car than it took to fucking... You probably just in your short life, I'm only 25, gonna be 25 this week. In your short life, driving back and forth to work for almost just a decade now, I bet you've used more energy in the terms of electronics and gas and power than it took for them to go to the moon and back. Just once. I wouldn't say it all completely, but you as an individual used as much power as it took. Like, because you've heard that quote about like iPhone having more computing power. You have today more literal power than the whole of NASA in the 60s, because you can go fill up 20 cars, 20 badass diesel trucks or whatever you want, and then go run them for 100 years. And take care of them, because you have that capability. You could, if you wanted to do that, you could do that. And that's a ton of energy. And it took hundreds of people to do that one thing 60 years ago, just to go to the moon. And they all had to have focus and narrow their ideas and shit, and which is essentially what it's about, and meditate and think outside the box. And we could go to the moon. No, people told them they couldn't go to the moon. You can't go to the fucking moon, man. You fucking crazy? It's the moon. You can't go there. It's like so far away. You could just look at it. Just fucking look at it. Don't go there. You're stupid. Don't go to the moon. God, man. And then they fucking went to the moon, and they just fucking grabbed their nutsack up there. They're like, yeah, suck on this. No, that's just my idea of what they did when they got to the moon. But they just shoved it in their face, because they don't... That's kind of where I got this hope. I was trying to find something to shove in someone's face, and nothing fucking seemed to click, and then philosophy clicked. As soon as you start talking Zen Buddhist philosophy, quantum theory philosophy, nature of reality, nature of existence, start asking questions like kids did. I stopped it. Everyone seems to stop asking questions. So I pick it back up and start asking them. So this podcast did go a little long because I can fill out that time. We're not going to have any music anymore. I'm very, very sorry. I guess I could recommend one and throw a link at the bottom. Maybe. Let's see if I do that. That just sounds like more work for me. But I guess I'll stick with it. I'll recommend one now. Here, I'm scrolling through my playlist. And what I was listening to, and I got a couple songs on here that Joe Rogan mentioned in his podcast that I added because I wanted them. And here's a beautiful song. I think I added it before, but it won't be in this video. Everyone just go check it out. That's how I'm going to end my podcast today. But it's a beautiful love song written by John Legend for his wife, called All of Me. It's very, very pretty, and I don't usually fall for these girly piano songs, but this one was very well written and was very moving. So please, everyone, if you will, go click on the link below and listen to John Legend, All of Me, because it is on the No Quarter podcast playlist for June, even though it's July. I'm still on my June playlist, because my June playlist is pretty badass. I made a pretty good one this month. But thanks again for listening. If you can, subscribe if you want to check it out again. Follow me on Twitter, no25andrew. Email me at no25andrew@gmail. Subscribe here on YouTube, No Quarter Andrew, No Quarter Podcast Andrew with No Quarter Andrew. Thanks again for listening. Again, we have no quarter. The dogs of doom are howling more. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening. All right. Talk to you later. See ya.